Let's talk about the engineer. The engineer was described as being, by the road foreman of engines, as being very competent, conscientious, no reservations about him. He went up to Seattle the night before to get a good evening's rest. I noticed that in the interviews there was some training going on, and he, on his own expense, got a hotel because he wanted to be rested for the training. He knew about the curve. In his interview, he said, and I quote, "We all hated the curve. Everyone hated that curve. Everyone was concerned about that curve." And yet, he made a mistake. And you know what? Somebody a lot smarter said, "To err is human." We all make mistakes. And so we have to allow for that mistake and put in place redundancy so that when somebody does commit a human error, that mistake is trapped before it becomes consequential. And in this case, the backstop would have been positive train control, but that wasn't there, and it should have been. It would have been easy for us just to complete this investigation. We could have done it a few days after the accident because we knew that that train went around that curve at too fast of a speed. We could have closed it right then and there. But in fact, we didn't, because by doing a very thorough investigation, the NTSB, your staff, has identified failures up and down the line. Because as I said in my opening statement, the engineer was set up to fail. He was let down by Amtrak, who provided insufficient route familiarization. He was let down by Amtrak in the insufficient training in the charge of locomotive that he had only operated a few times. He was let down by Sound Transit, who provided ineffective mitigation of the hazardous curve. By Washington State Department of Transportation, by their decision to start revenue service without ensuring that the risk had been sufficiently mitigated. And by the FRA, who, as Member Hamady just pointed out, allowed cars to be used that did not meet the regulatory strength standards. And as Mr. Hiller pointed out, those three fatalities more than likely would not have occurred had they been in conventional rail cars. So I am pleased that our staff took a deep dive. We looked at the entire system. Not because we're here to blame anybody. We're not in the business of blame. We're not here apportioning blame. By looking at the entire system, that's how we identify deficiencies that can be corrected. That engineer will probably never make that same mistake again for a lot of reasons. But we can, through a very thorough investigation, identify deficiencies in the system that can be corrected. So I know this has been a very long and at times frustrating investigation, but I want to thank you for your dedication to not just stopping the investigation at the identification of the engineer's error, but by looking at the whole system, and through that we will make our railroad system safer.